Hello everyone. So this is an interview that we did with Kieron Innes. He's a very talented young gymnast living with XLH. He hasn't let his diagnosis hold him back, and his resilience in dealing with the mental and physical challenges of XLH is really inspiring. We hope it makes for a hopeful story for you to listen to.
So I've been doing gymnastics for a long time, since about, I think, two. My mum took me to one of those sort of preschool playgroup things, and I was just climbing everywhere, sort of all over sofas, blocks. And I think it was the person running that recommended she take me to a gymnastics class so I could sort of learn how to fall safely and
Mm.
not end up hurting myself. And from there, I just loved it. So I've just kept going ever since. I think there's a part that really loves the sort of pushing myself out of that comfort zone. Gymnastics, it's a sport with really no ceiling. There's always something else you can do that's harder, scarier, and it's sort of you can keep doing that for as long as you want. And I think that's what really brought me to the sport. So right now I'm training about 5 nights a week, and it's sort of 4 hours each session. So sort of I'll go to school, come back from school, get my dinner. As soon as my dad comes home, we're off to gym, at gym till 9, back home, sleep, and it's sort of that most days. So it's quite a lot. I train at Fusion Gymnastics Wales in Pontyclean,
Mhm.
and it's sort of I've got a great group of boys who I train with right now, and my coach Stephen, who's really sort of helped me, especially in my journey with XLH. And it's sort of without them, I'm not sure whether or not I would have been able to continue through sort of the really hard times when I was first getting diagnosed. I'd say, and it's not necessarily related to gymnastics, but I'd say my parents are definitely sort of a big role model and influence. I know that's sort of quite typical, but sort of watching the sacrifice that they've put in for me and the way they've had to sort of adapt their lives to help me, not just in gymnastics, but with XLH. I was quite a late diagnosis, from what I understand. A lot of people get diagnosed when they're very young, but I didn't really feel any problem until I was about 11 or 12, where it's just, I don't even think it was in gym, it was sort of just around school. I was noticing pains in my knees and my hips and my feet when running, sort of fatigue in my legs, weakness. Sort of from there, it got worse, and it was a long road to getting it diagnosed. So that was quite a tough journey. Bounce around from this physio to this specialist.
Lots of appointments.
Yeah, all sort of telling you to run like this and let's see how much it hurts. It's not nice, especially when you don't come out of it with a clear answer. I think it was somewhere between sort of a year and a year and a half of actually going between different teams and working out what it was. And then from there, it was sort of how do we deal with this? How do we adapt sort of gym and my life? What
Yeah.
medication is there that can help? So before I was on the medication I'm on now, which is sort of Borosumab injections, I was on these sort of phosphate dissolvable tablets,
Hmm.
which I had to take them 4 times a day. They tasted horrible. They didn't really do much, I found. And so that was the period where it was most difficult because I had this medication, but I was still dealing with these really bad symptoms. But the medication I'm on now, those injections, I have seen a great improvement and it's really been able to turn a lot of my gym around. And sort of there's a lot of pieces like floor and vault, particularly, which are quite sort of impact on the legs, in game changing for that. sort of seen such drastic improvements. And just in general in life, I was talking to my mum before this, and she was talking about going around sort of on a family holiday in Europe and how I used to not be able to walk more than 10 minutes
Oh,
without having to need
wow.
to stop and rest. I remember it, but it took me a bit by shock because it's sort of compared to now where I'm walking to school and walking around school all day, then going to gym. Sort of, it's really incredible how far it's been able to help. Yeah, well, gymnastics is such a competitive sport that sort of you've got these six pieces, but if you're sort of quite far behind on one or two, you're not going to qualify for these big competitions because you need those scores. And so for me in those years, sort of I was always a hard worker, but sort of I had this external factor that was sort of limiting me. I could sort of see myself sort of falling behind where my teammates were, and there were definitely thoughts of should I even continue doing this sport at this point? Sort of am I too far gone to be able to catch back up now? And those were really tough to deal with. I'd really say surround yourself or find a community within that sport that's willing to make the sort of adaptations and changes that you're looking for and that you need. And then from there, really, it's just about finding a sport that you love and that you'd want to do, and you're motivated to do it, no matter what level you're at. So even if you might not be able to ever get to sort of the Olympics or something like that, if you could just do it because you love it, then that's incredible. I definitely say my first Disability British Championships is something I'll always be so proud of. Not just because it was sort of my first, but I had no idea what to expect. I was still quite heavily dealing with XLH at the time. I wasn't feeling great on the day, quite nervous, and I'm just so happy that I stuck it through, went in there, and I came out with some great achievements. I know the typical answer here is the Olympics. I'd actually say the Commonwealth Games, just because it's sort of the one I grew up it was close to me. I trained with people who'd gone there. I'd watched it sort of in person and live on TV. So it's a bit more real and a bit more personal to me.
Do you think that's in the horizon, maybe?
Well, I don't want to jinx it.
No, we won't jinx it.
I'd love to, and I'd love to be able to compete in competitions like that, and also bring sort of wider, bigger disability competitions for gymnastics as well, and international competitions for that. So I do plan to go to uni, but I'm definitely not going to give up gymnastics. It's sort of something I want to continue doing for as long as I can. And then more sort of short term, we've got the Welsh Championships and the British Championships in the next 2 months. So that's what we've all been really focusing on now. So to do well in there, to come away with some personal best scores, I'll be really happy with that.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Well, thank you very much for giving us a glimpse into your gymnastics world and your journey so far. And I know lots of our XLH community would have really enjoyed hearing about it as well. And I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say best of luck with all your future goals. And we're very much looking forward to seeing what's in store for you next.
Thank you very much.
For more information about XLH, please visit xlhuk.org.